Here in Vienna, a classic tale of intrigue is unfolding. The cast list is made up of some of the finest players in the world. The stage is a vibrant casino, and the plot 48 hours of non-stop action. If you haven't guessed, it's the Party Poker Big Game. Here at the Montesino in Vienna, some of the world's best poker players have gathered for a non-stop 48-hour cash game of epic proportions. And as in previous years, the event is spiced up by player evictions. It's a heady mix that has produced some stunning action.
The clock ticks in a relentless fashion. Over 30 hours gone, and a combination of evictions and players busting out has sent this game into a full spin. Only one man had survived from the start, but the merry-go-round of players seems to have stopped at some pretty big names. But those players have turned this game on its head with a cruel twist and a controversial moment all rolled into one. Phil Laak threw away a winning hand with a massive pot waiting to be claimed. Had he failed to check his cards? Did tiredness get the better of him? As the cards were shuffled, the full extent of his error remained a mystery. To the others around the table, although not involved in the hand, their side bet on Laak having the winning hand raged on. The truth emerged to settle the bet and confirm Laak's worst nightmare.
This is like the first time in the history of poker where I know the hand better than the player himself. This is like unbelievable. It's history.
The American may still have been 115K to the good, but there was no escaping that losing feeling. At one stage, he had topped the 200K mark. The road back would be long and hard, but Laak being Laak dug deep and started rebuilding his stack. Is it possible that Laak intentionally mucked that hand?
That is not possible.
To set up a play later? Laak's early moment of weakness had allowed Alec Torelli to close the gap. He made the most of his opportunity, pushing on past the 100K mark and going to within 13K of Laak.
I really do not like this raise here, but now he just can't continue.
But as Laak's fortunes improved, Torelli stalled. Scott Seaver, after a difficult start, found his feet and steadily upped the pace, much to the consternation of Dominicus Karmazinas. It was pretty exciting, Dominicus.
Yeah, he was definitely playing with fire his whole time there.
That spelt the end for Karmazinas, but would it also hint at something big for Seaver? Andy Moseley had been quietly going about his business and sailed past the 60K mark, catching out Laak along the way.
There's your action card.
Wow, he could just get stacked off.
It's just not a good time to make a play there.
Sam Trickett returned to the action, but many wondered why. After all, he had endured a torrid time at the table in the early hours, and as he sat down for another session, he faced a loss of 32K. But just maybe his faith would be rewarded.
For Trickett, it's about 6,000 that he's picked up since he sat back down in this game.
Trickett remains the only player around this table with a loss, but he has enjoyed profitable spells before, and surely this time around he can claw back that loss.
Phil's playing pretty well. I mean, he's back up to 180,000, up 160, near his peak. I think he's about 5,000 off. I remember him being about 185 at some point. So he's taking a run at that Tony G record, the biggest win in the Party Poker 48-hour cash game.
Raise 600. Call.
Trickett chooses to re-raise with 2 8s to 600, and if this game was full, people a lot of the time wouldn't choose to 3-bet with 3 8s, but in a 4-handed game, that is a very much a very premium hand. Actually calls from the big blind.
I thought you were going to do like
King Jack of Diamonds.
5,400. He had that quiet calm about it.
Yeah, Torelli was thinking right there about...
I think he was thinking about all 3 options, about 4-betting, folding, and calling. One of those hands and one of those spots that you could do kind of any one of the 3. It's tough to call a raise and a re-raise with just King Jack, but suited and they're four-handed, so he knows that Trickett's 3-betting range is much lighter.
300.
And he's leading into Sam. I mean, this gets confusing, right? He's trying to...
And Sam calls with a pair of 8s, and
So-
Phil folds his pair of 4s behind him.
If you're Trickett, are you prepared to call the turn as well? That's not a good turn.
That's a pretty tough turn to keep calling with. I mean, he does have a club with his pair of 8s, but it's an overcard, it's a flush card. One of the hands that Alec could have been leading with was a flush draw. It's not going to be putting him on a lot of kings here. King Queen's a possibility.
Torelli's got to think about this. Now he's not sure if he wants to make a value bet or not, right?
Right. This might be a spot where now he just kind of check calls. Because it would put him in a very difficult spot if he bets here, and then if he's raised by Sam.
Laak, meanwhile, folded on the flop, would have hit the 2 pair. This would have just been a... Wow, the deck is going bonkers.
3,000.
And I guess he's bet here, Scott, because it's like he would be betting anyway, even if the card, you know, based on everything.
Well, he's also trying to protect his hand from exactly the type of hand that Sam has, which contains a club in it. So, I mean, Sam has a lot of cards to win this hand, and if he checks there and Sam chooses to check back, he's just giving him a free look at the river.
Torelli does take it. And Phil Laak's thinking about the 2 pair.
It is for you. You should go
He
play
probably doesn't know
Chinese.
about the 64K thing yet. He probably hasn't heard that.
Obviously, a potential player on the rail.
Who do we got out there?
I don't know.
Raised 9.
Phil's opened this, and Moseley with the 3-bet from the big blind. And Phil's just flat it.
Did you have it?
Yeah, really. I was like, I'm supposed to call, but sort of supposed to fold, so I don't know.
Well, now let's go. Flush draw for Moseley.
14.
And
14.
these 2,
Whatever.
Call.
Whatever, Trevor.
these 2 ready to play a pot.
Phil Laak, pretty good hand with the ace-queen here.
Now, I mean, even though Moseley is, well, okay, he's not doesn't care about the ace now. Now he's just going to bet it, huh? And you do bet it because you're concerned that Phil can check so many hands back,
Yeah,
right?
that also include a club.
You want to get just 3 full streets.
Call.
Phil's going to elect to see another card. Club can save Phil here. There it is.
Check. Check.
Flush.
How high?
Phil's just messing around.
Can you get a 4?
4 wins.
That was the wrong bluff for Phil Laak to make, the how high bluff.
Wow, I just
The
got
guy's got the deuce 3. Andy Moseley quietly going about his business and seeing off the threat of Phil Laak with the flush. Moseley closes it on 60K. More to come after the break. We've got a new player joining the game, and he's sitting in the 5 seat. This is Sasha D, local player, Dobrzevich, buying him for 5,000 euros. I don't know much about this gentleman.
His name doesn't sound local.
Yeah, that's a good
As soon as
point.
he goes all in, we're all going to be so tilted. Like, right now, we're all friendly and whatever. As soon as he bombs it
I
on
think,
someone that
but
makes it 700, we're just
make
going to
it
go.
Don't you think there's a good chance, Scott, that this game will fill up before long?
Definitely come morning once the room fills up again. But it's a little awkward time. It's a little bit awkward time of the day at 5 a.m.
I used to always go into poker rooms at 5 a.m. I thought that was like, to me, that was like the nuts. For this exact reason, you might run into guys like,
So you
Sure.
can't play the tournament?
Yeah.
Any luck? Still in?
Yeah, he's still in. That's why he's here at 6 in the morning. Bet 300.
that was the ultimate rub down.
Raise 1,025.
Someone did it to me yesterday in the first hand I played on here. I made it 1,200, he moved in for 5k, I just snapped with King Jack. I was like, I'm gonna get
Oh yeah, I
him.
saw that. Yeah, you're just too cool.
I just want to bust him.
Yeah, I almost called a guy up with 8-6 suited, but then someone made it 15k behind. It was only like 4k.
I would call for sure.
Yeah, I made it 800 and it was like 3.2k more.
I do it online. Against short stack 2k.
But they can always reload online.
Yeah.
They might be on the case Euro save.
Alex got bottom pair on this board.
For being in a good spot versus
Up against Phil Laak's open-ended straight draw.
That's what they just. That's how they probably.
He's bet and been raised by Laak. Doesn't want to let it go. I'm gonna call with just bottom pair here.
Wow, interesting.
He's a draw-heavy board. 2 clubs out there, a couple of different straight draws.
And this was a check raise by Laak on the.
And then he checks the turn. Interesting when the jack comes out. I guess Laak had it in his head that probably had a jack or an 8 there, and if he did have a jack or an 8 there,
Bet 1,300.
definitely be hard to put him off that on the turn.
Raise to
That was a
6,000.
bold bet by
And
Torelli.
this I think is gonna work.
I was just thinking about
Yeah.
that. That was a.
And then and Laak snap raises it, snap check raises it, and once he gets check raised there on the turn, I don't think Alec can comfortably continue there.
You know, I do think Phil Laak is a little bit like a musician. I mean, playing everything. We've seen him now for however many hours. I think that was the first double check raise he's pulled.
Re-raise
First one I
700.
recall.
Yeah. And I mean, that's why Torelli you have to just fold. Guy check raises you twice in one hand, and it's not even gotten to the river yet.
Opens 3-bet 4.
Wasn't it 1-2-4-8 or 1-2-4? 1-2-4. Then you made it like 2. I made it 10.
No, you raised the button.
All in?
Yeah.
I
All in.
pop to you.
Fold.
Wait.
One time, kid, sorry.
What'd you have?
Ace King.
Ooh.
2
You
kings.
got the pair, haven't you?
No, he hasn't.
An ace or king wins, that's for sure.
Pair of 4s, I think. Tope's got the 4.
Turn it over.
I have jacks.
I mean, I'm actually rooting for Sasha to double up because if he wants the game to get going, and he won't be able to do this anymore if he has a stack of. If he wins this, he'll have 11,000 in front of him, and he definitely can't be doing the same play. And it'll be out of his comfort zone.
I'd say win or lose. You know, either it's going to definitely have a dynamic effect on the game.
4 diamonds.
There's the king.
Well, at least he has a
Yep,
stack
Phil,
now.
that's exactly what Phil's saying.
You don't have to worry about his all-in.
At least he has a stack now.
You can still hit a
This
jack.
would be very uncouth of him to now pick up his winnings and leave, so he's definitely going to have to stay in the game for at least a little while.
Imagine if he just won like 300k.
So sick of that. 0 for 5.
I'm sure it's possible.
Should be 2.5.
It is possible, but that would be, let's just say, very frowned upon.
For him to win 300K?
Oh, no. For Sasha to leave the game now. I thought that's what you were referring to.
So when you look at the numbers on the board, it is, in fact, Andy Moseley
Raise 200.
who's done the best of late.
Fold.
How much you win for, Alec?
50.
Winning about 60.
Yeah, same. 400.
Bet 400.
Get out of it.
Call.
Get out of it. No, I'm almost.
Me.
Yeah.
Laak is just
In the last 3 days.
snapping cards off right and left.
Check. 1,000.
Yeah.
Halfway. Get the 16 to 1 tomorrow.
We saw this
Yeah.
not with Trickett,
Raise 4,500.
but we definitely saw it
Call.
with Tony G with a couple players where, you know, you kind of feel like this guy can't keep beating me, so you have to make a move at some point. But Laak is just snapping cards everywhere. And Trickett's check raised him on the turn here, Scott. He can, you know, if he hangs himself on the, I don't, is there a bet? Is there a bet that he can make that can get Trickett off this hand? What's he representing here that'll beat Phil Laak?
I mean, they'll get Phil off the hand. No,
Bet
Phil's not
15,000.
going to fold.
So tilt. Your eight's good.
Makes bets 1.5 times pot, and Phil just snaps off at 3/8.
What? Full house. Oh, I thought I had a full house.
Is he being serious?
No, I thought I had 8-6.
Oh,
I swear to
no.
God. But I have 8. I thought in my head I had 8-6.
Might be a
I
more
don't
close
know.
decision though if you don't think you're
Not
right.
certain.
No, I
serious
would
or
have
not?
maybe folded it. I thought I had a, I thought I had a 6. I swear on the holy. Well, I don't have to swear anymore. You guys know when I tell you.
Yeah, I was.
I mean, he said full house
Can
instantly,
you
like
just
he
start
wasn't
reading
swallowing
your
it.
hands?
No,
You can't. I was going to say,
I'm
how does he
tired,
have
I'm
a full
having-
house on this board? It's not impossible.
What was the action?
I checked flop.
How much
I
money
bet
does
flop
Laak?
and
He's
just
got
call.
over 200.
Jake was
No,
saying the same thing to me.
nearly
He's like, no,
200K again.
Yeah.
I mean, do you remember hours ago? Hours and hours
That's
ago,
200.
Phil Laak had lost basically everything but his orange 5,000 chips. He was really looking like a bit limp, to
That's
be
a-
fair.
Already give up the bluffing. Chat.
Full house.
Check.
that was the first time in 11 years I've done that too. In my head, had a full house, turned it over, said full house, and then discovered I didn't have a full house. It's the first time.
Bet 275.
First time. And that was the first
Raise
time I gave a
600.
64K pot away that I knew about. A lot of firsts. Pretty unbelievable.
He will just call here, Sasha, my guess.
It's weird because like 8-6 is kind of the same thing as 10-8 anyway in a little bit.
Yeah, because it's only 2 away.
So
It's
maybe
3 away.
so maybe you wouldn't fold an 8.
I'm just thinking about it. I think I would call with an 8 right now. That's why I added that statement, don't bluff me now, because I think my brain's on, like, not really
It's not in the
logical.
mood to like and fold big hands.
I want to fold big hands,
Yeah.
but I don't know how to do it,
Sometimes
so
your
I'm all
mouth just says
deprived.
cool before you even think.
Do you know how many times I did
8-6
this? and I was
Wow,
like,
what a
"Oh, yeah,
turn
why is-
card.
10-8 there.
Moseley is kind of
It's the same thing.
stuck
Unless I'm
into
going real
maybe
thin with queen eight.
three-barreling this,
That's
but,
what I
and
was
now he's happy
Which I
to.
might do, I probably would, to be
And
fair.
I'm not really
you, I
sure
swear
what
to
he
God.
was going to do on the turn anyway. He might have given it up.
probably was better.
Yeah, I mean, it was a stab
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
flop, but
I had a lot of times where I saw the money in front of
it's
me.
basically the
Guys
nuts on the
literally
turn.
wondered how it got out there, realized I put it out there.
But now that he's hit, look
and
how
was,
big
like,
this
kinda
bet
bummed that I
is. This
did it,
bet
and I
is
just had to go into
over
prayer mode
pot
just to get it
size.
folded out. There was 4 times where I knew that's not a
And he
bet,
calls,
that
he's
was bad.
saying, I'm not going to be
A
pushed
bad bet,
around.
And I got him away.
Wow, he can bust him. I mean, he can just.
Yeah, I expect Moseley to rip it
How
here.
much have you got?
He's going to go all in.
You guys, can you get chairs and relax? Come up here. Sit. There's a chair right there. Sit next
He has
to
a
me.
pot size bet in front of him.
There's
Moseley's
one
going to
right
go
there,
all in
too.
here for sure.
Why not? It's your buddy.
Yeah, why not?
Lean over, sweat the cards, tell him what to do, whatever.
Bet 3,000.
We're
Wow,
totally
that's
cool with it.
surprising.
It's a family. It's a
Thank you.
family show.
That's what I said.
You guys are a crew. It's like the family
Getting less
thing.
than
you know?
half pot.
Maybe some of you guys have 10% of his action. I
He's
don't even
thinking
know.
he's being
you know?
value towned here.
Tell him, you know, these lifeline. He should get a lifeline.
I feel like
He's
I
gotten
like
really unlucky because Moseley did start out this check raise bluffing.
Maybe once
The thing is, I have
But then when the bet on the turn came, it was just so
my
big.
guardian angel is named Uncle Peter, and he just rules.
I think Moseley's just spun him around like a top here.
there's Uncle Peter.
Will if he gets him to call now.
An old relative from Ireland that watches over
Why does he
me and
bet
my
3,000?
family
What is it?
and defends against disaster for me.
Because he wants to get called. I'm sure Moseley puts him correctly on an ace, and but he's also thinks he's being tight, so he thought if he went all in, he would have folded. I mean, because that was, I guess, the original part of his plan. He thought he'd be able to get him off an ace maybe when he was check raising the flop. So just because he made his full house, he's not trying to get him off the ace anymore. He's actually trying to get him to call.
Sasha's problem, obviously, is that he can't
He does
beat.
call.
Yeah, I mean, not only, he can't even beat an ace, really. Ace with no kicker.
No, he can only beat a bluff there. No, the flush got there, a bigger ace had him the whole way.
Oh, right.
And obviously he's never going to put him on sixes full there, but
Did the value raise on the flop?
now just like that, Sasha's down to 3,800. And now we're going to be seeing him rip it again pre-flop.
5 players. Big game 6. 48 hours, and we're locked in on our number. I think it's been about 36, isn't it?
Yeah, we're 15 minutes shy of 36 hours here.
All in?
We have an all-in.
joking. How much is that?
It's 3,000 more.
Oh, he's gone quite light here, Sasha.
I can't. It's just the worst. Most tilt.
How much is it?
4.
It's like 3K.
This is an awfully light
3,175.
squeeze with queen 4 in this spot.
Fold.
Please get him, buddy. I'm nothing
And
personal. I just
card.
it's just too tilting. No, I had nothing.
Oh, you showed an ace.
Fold.
Spike called. Huh? You showed
Oh,
an
the
ace,
king
that's
queen
not
folded.
I got the
Surprisingly.
10.
That's king queen of clubs.
How much is it? I don't even know how much
You
it
lose
is.
it.
How much is it?
And Sasha is drawing to just a 4 on the river.
Oh, you just slow rolled him like a legend.
No, I told him.
Oh, I thought
I think that's going to be it for
No, I said
Sasha.
ace 10.
Oh, I was like, what are you doing?
No,
Here in the Montesino, this 48-hour cash game has been a revolving door for some of the world's best players. Only Phil Laak has lasted the distance. Plenty have gone and returned, and there is always plenty of new faces waiting for their chances. But as Sasha Dobrzevic has just found out, it can be an expensive option. Welcome back to the big game. With the departure of Sasha Dobrzevic, we're down to 4 at this table, with Phil Laak leading by over 100K. Moseley and Torelli in profit, and despite Trickett winning that last hand, he's still 43 down and chasing this game.
I used to think this guy was so bad. I used to spin up.
Came back to four-handed,
and I just go on and he just calls
and
Jack 7
it's almost like a
I'd have
coffee
ace
clutch,
queen,
isn't it?
I'd win, and I'd be like, right, I've got him this time. I get like ace king all in, calls like 5-6 suit, just flops a pair, and I'm just.
So
like,
is he literally calling
150.
100% pre-flop?
for like when people were buying
No,
like,
what he'd do is to have it lines in like 6 bet you, and then you'd shove it, be like, oh, well, no,
priced in there. Yeah.
We raised 600.
But he just like 6 lines.
And got.
Yeah.
And
He would just.
So
Like,
he
do
would
anything.
open shove pre-flop?
No, he would just basically like.
3 plays.
Moseley
do
just
anything
cold
you can
called
to
on the
get
button, I
as
guess.
soon as possible at any stage.
Check. Check.
Flex that button.
Check.
Check.
Flop
Check.
basically hits no one.
Check.
These guys are fairly aware that Laak could have a big hand
I
here.
expect Laak to call though.
1,600. Call.
Double check.
Fold.
I thought I might have.
Moseley just drawing stone dead. Phil Torelli, that was him.
Bet 4,000.
Well, this is interesting.
The 6 doesn't really change much. He most likely wasn't betting a 6 for value on the turn, and if his 7s were good
What's he doing? Is that him?
pre-flop, then they should still be good. I mean, 7s were good in the turn. They're still good in the river here. Yeah, Phil makes a really good call.
Should've listened to
It did. It's
He didn't have a queen.
And with that pot, Phil has over 200,000.
with every pot. With every pot, he doesn't he just impress you more and more?
It's a good bluff.
Welcoming Kara Scott. Hi, Kara.
Hey.
How long have you been sort of seeing the proceedings? I mean, you've been here for on and off for the 48 hours, but have you been watching like these going on last couple hours, or?
A little bit, yeah. I've been out on the floor for about an hour, just kind of catching up on what's been happening while I was away. And I come back, and I can't believe Phil's still there. I can't believe he's still winning.
And he made it all
It's
back
amazing.
and then some. Not only that, he's sitting on over 200,000.
Oh my gosh.
There's this, I mean, I don't know, is the vibe out there that everybody's just, wants, like, between Trickett and Moseley and Torelli, that they just can't, like, get this guy. There's this frustration building.
It's got to feel like that. I mean, sometimes the sessions go that way. You're sitting down, you cannot beat someone. Phil's been there now, I don't even know how long, 36 hours?
36.
Yeah.
36 hours, and the guys are looking a little bit like they're in that middle of the night lull.
Oh, we've got, this is, I think Torelli has he pulled the trigger at the wrong time? Has he 4-bet this? Or no, he's called the 3-bet. Do you have any experience playing, like these guys are all on stacks besides Trickett that are like 100,000 deep. Do you have any experience playing like four-handed, 800 big blind deep?
Oh yeah, totally high stakes all the
No,
time.
any
Jesse.
stakes, like any stakes. I mean, it's
No,
just
I would be a little nervous playing this deep. I've got to be honest. That I would be completely out of my depth, and
Bet 2,500.
they just have no choice right now, do they? It's
Meanwhile, Moseley checks the flop here with the 2 aces and gets Torelli to bet 2,500, bet half pot. Moseley's playing this cautiously. Expect him to check again here.
Check, check.
Torelli checks it back and though it's up here. This would be actually a great check here and give Torelli an opportunity to represent the ace. Because Moseley's got to know that he basically has all the aces, and unless he has a 9 here, which he would bet anyway. I'm surprised he leads out.
Sorry. Bet,
Alec a little frustrated with himself there.
bet 6,500.
Thought it was a good river there to check and let Torelli represent the ace.
I wonder how differently the guys are playing from how they normally would sitting down fresh at a session. I mean, there's got to be a pretty significant difference. Not even just the tiredness, but the game flow as well. They've been sitting together for so long, that starts to play into it so much.
I mean, the game flow is hysterical. First of all, like, hand values pre-flop are just out the window. I mean, I don't even know. I don't even really know if there's a theory right now.
Alec, I mean, just last hand, for example, Alec opened with the jack deuce and then defended to a raise.
They're all so deep, you know. You raise, there's a 3-bet, someone calls. I mean, it doesn't
Everybody
even,
calls because you're so deep,
like,
and every hand can have the odds and win a big pot.
So, but I guess that's not. I don't know if that has even to do with it. They're so tired. That's just like they all just know they're all just opening and 3-betting everything. So maybe it's fine. Like,
Yeah, they're probably pretty locked into each other at this point. They've been playing together for so long, particularly Sam and Phil Laak.
yeah.
Laak could not have missed that anymore.
Don't matter. He'll call once.
9.
Once maybe.
Doubt that. This would be a pure float here. He gets raised.
Raise. 3,000.
Just bomb it, baby.
Wow, here comes the hammer.
Good instincts.
What do you think?
Continues to win. His stack just keeps going up and up and up.
What do you have to say
rarely
about
losing
that,
a pot.
Tara? What is it? What was that?
What was that? Wow.
It was the bomb.
It was the bomb. It was his hammer. It was the Phil Laak hammer. Laak is locked in.
He is locked in.
He's in punishing mode, and it's it's working for him.
I might come in. Feel badly.
Oh,
I think that's one of the things that makes the difference with the actual big pros. It's,
For sure.
They've got that. They're able to stay balanced and at least enough, or know when they need to get off the table, or know when they need to just get up and take a walk, change their t-shirt, find another superhero.
raise 150. Call.
Wow. Okay, we're gonna have something happen
1,000.
here because
Call.
Sam made it a cool 1,000.
And Laak cold calls the 3-bet.
Moseley manages to let
See
one
what
go.
And Torelli can definitely put in a 4th bet here, or he can call.
He could have, couldn't he have? I mean, Trickett's very light. Maybe it was when Phil Laak cold called it that it slowed him down.
Check. Check.
Maybe they're gonna check it around here. But Torelli seems to like to bet that when checked to him.
2,000.
All of his outs are live. Maybe straight with a deuce.
Yeah.
Call.
With an ace or a queen.
Fold.
Isn't it really deceptive that Trickett checks there after 3-betting? I mean, it is the kind of hand you'd want to bet. Is it just that you think he feels like if he bets, he can only get called if he's beat or something?
Check.
Just playing pot control, like you said, they're very deep here. It is a spot that there aren't a ton of there aren't a ton of 4s and 5s. You can just get value and let him bluff at it. But in this spot, he does have a lot of outs here. He's got 10 outs to win this pot. doesn't want to bet and be raised. It would just put him. If you lead with the 10s and get raised, it just puts you in a hairy spot. You don't know what to do with it.
I think he just knows that whatever he does is going to be the wrong decision. you know, you feel like that sometimes. It always happens on the turn too, doesn't it?
30.
Looks like Alec wants to fire again here.
A little more. No. Sorry.
That's
Yeah, 26.
Getting a
Yeah,
count of
little more.
Sam's stack.
Just about 36,000.
What do you think he should do? I mean,
6
that big.
thousand.
You're kind of hating that jack, I guess, if you're Sam, or are you thinking that the jack doesn't matter?
I don't think the jack really matters here. A lot of the hands he's representing, Alec is representing in the flop when he's betting, don't have jacks in them. Unless he chose to bet with ace jack instead of ace queen here, the jack is pretty irrelevant.
Beautiful.
Now the 6 would have made a straight, and that's obviously a possibility in Alec's hand. So Sam's not going to love that 7, and if he had a hand that was like 7-8, for example, he'd probably check if he just made a 7 here.
I don't think Torelli can win this.
He could try and represent this 6. I mean, he's basically
Wow.
saying
25.
he's saying I have a 6 or possibly like a.
I didn't think he could win it. I really. He bet 25,000.
And Trickett.
He called him with the 2 10s.
Fantastic call by Sam Trickett. Calls the overbet.
He
with 2 10s on that board.
Oh man, he felt that dynamic. Torelli was just.
I made my mind up when you bet that big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, he made his mind up on the turn. Didn't really matter.
Did you see how
Didn't
quick
even
he
think
called
about it.
that?
Yeah, he
He
still
didn't even
fast.
think about it. He was just like, he didn't even want to think anymore, did he?
Second pair in a
He was
four-card
just like,
board.
$20.
and I don't think that. Wow. It was not a great spot normally.
Pretty sick. Still missed.
Wow. Like you said, you know, he decided, I guess, on the turn if the right river cards came off.
Yeah.
He just did not buy him for a jack
I'm always
or a
supposed to
6.
check if I miss and bet if I hit if you're going to call on that river.
I'm not always going to call, to be honest. A lot of the time I just fold the turn, but I just called for a reason.
That's the best reasoning I have ever heard. Trickett finally gets the break he has been chasing and wins that big hand that takes him to within touching distance of profit. More to come after the break. Welcome back to the big game and Sam Trickett's weary path to redemption. It's been a long road after a truly horrendous spell in the opening exchanges. He left over 30K down, but incredibly returned to the table and continued to endure loss after loss. But his faith has finally been rewarded with an impressive win over Alec Torelli. Torelli heads for the door for a break, but could well return. Have a look at the biggest winners and losers in the whole big game. Obviously, the 2 biggest winners in the big game still at the table, Laak and Moseley. And I think a lot of people thought that JP Kelly was maybe the toughest guy that's come through this big game. He was really awesome. Have a look at the biggest losers. Jungleman, as we talked about, I don't feel like he deserves that moniker, biggest loser. Mike Sexton just never got anything going his way. He got, what, 5 big pairs cracked in his 6 or 7 hours.
It looks like he's
3-handed. And we will carry on. This only gets more interesting. And now that Sam Trickett, obviously ashamed to see Alec Torelli go, but the benefit of that big pot Trickett played against Torelli is that Trickett's now got an effective stack.
At least like a 6 in your hand.
Just 200 apiece, and
Check.
Oh, this is a big one.
5. It was a pretty crazy blow up. Really.
Bet and call there, 500.
One
thing Trickett doesn't usually do is just go bet, 3 streets of value. Let's see what he does here, though. Oh, pardon me. He's on the button. It's a little tough spot for Phil Laak, and it could be made tougher on the river. He's drawing dead here, Phil. So how big does Trickett want to go? Oh, ouch.
Check.
I mean, the only thing that changed, obviously, is now that Phil's ahead of all pocket pairs, and he's ahead of the 7, and that's pretty much all there is.
Finally got a hand.
I guess that's a cooler, although if it had just come a blank, Laak might have called anyway. And Sam Trickett starting to make a few inroads. That pot right there, did that put Sam Trickett even for the big game? Is he now in profit? He's not far. He is not far away.
And from September 1 to September 7th.
Raise 200.
Sam Trickett is, did you see that? He's in the black.
September 7th.
This is,
I'm going to begin the desert.
how long did it take him? It took him forever and a little to get even in this game.
Who did he take it from?
Yeah.
Sorry, I had stepped out at the time.
Phil Laak, actually.
Do you know that poker player called
Made a
Carmel?
full house against him.
She loves that, doesn't she?
Hold on. Check.
Check. 5. Fold. Call.
Laak's got sort of a big flop here, but he's just check called. And it's a big turn.
Makes
Check.
flush on the turn. Moseley's got a little something there. He's going to bet his 7 for value. And for protection, little as you know, he's drawing dead.
He does this well, Phil.
Check.
And yeah, Andy thinks his queens and 7s of the ace is good there. Wonder if Phil will put in a little raise here. Maybe a hammer. We'll see.
Ace 7.
Flush.
He just calls. It's pretty surprising. He could put Andy on just a queen there, and even a hand that he has, pair 8s, 9s. Definitely a lot of hands he could have gotten value out of with a raise, but chooses the conservative route and just calls.
Yeah, he let Andy take all the value there.
During the break, I found out that amount that Tony G won in last year's cash game, and the number that Phil Laak is going to be chasing. He won about 150,450 pounds. That is roughly 183,000 euros. So Phil is already 10K above that pace.
Total profit?
Yeah. Yes, total profit, excuse me.
So he's 10,000 below.
Yes.
So
You barely knew me and you were trying to help me.
you think we should tell him, don't you think?
Raise 5.
That was really cool. And then
Somebody
I did it
should.
through our place in
Or maybe
Canada.
it's better if he
It's probably
just
better he doesn't know that.
he doesn't know at
I'm
all.
all set up in Canada.
But
because we have a residence.
well, this is going to get
Is this for tax?
No, just
this is going to get very saucy depending on what comes on. Has Trickett just flatted from the small blind here? That's not possible. It is possible.
I'm all good.
Check.
That doesn't mean you live there. You just have a
Laak's
place,
on the
which we
button.
have
Sorry, he
in
flatted
Canada.
from the big blind. That's really odd.
Check. Toss.
And maybe, just maybe, it is going
Raise
to do the trick.
5,100.
Check it out.
Fold.
Phil's decided to raise here with the gut shot straight draw. Big raise too. You bet 1,000, make it 5,100.
I mean,
It's tough.
Trickett,
It's really tough to call if you're Sam Trickett right here. I mean, 2 queens. I mean, he's only beating bluffs here. I mean, we say that a lot, but Phil is representing a really big hand in this spot.
oh my gosh, is he thinking of re-raising? Is that possible?
No, that is very unlikely. If he's re-raising here, you're turning 2 queens into a bluff at that point.
And obviously there is a possible straight out there.
I would be absolutely shocked if he re-raised.
Fold.
Yeah.
Wow. Trickett.
Phil continues to do it. Trickett is curious. He wants to see one.
Half an hour.
We'll find out later.
Did you really?
You know I bolt for everything. you know I do.
I would have paid the green check.
Find out in half an hour.
For instant. You get it instant, you know? It's woven into the pattern.
I know you was either bluffing or you wasn't, so
Correct.
I don't really
Laak,
care.
Moseley, Trickett. Names that'll strike fear in the hearts of any
Raise 200.
poker fan or poker competitor.
But I think these guys, even though they've been playing with Phil Laak for a while, he's a tough player to figure out. And these guys are used to playing with players that probably aren't as difficult and
Card.
unpredictable as Phil Laak. I mean, that's his biggest strength, is his unpredictability. I mean, he takes a lot of abuse for a lot of his plays, and he does a lot of things that are mathematically incorrect at certain points in a hand, but he makes up for it intrinsically by making his opponents second-guess themselves and taking lines that are unorthodox and
Bet 2,000.
just doing things different than a normal players and players they're playing with are accustomed to doing.
Yeah, and there must be someone who just absolutely has the conkers on Phil Laak. Like, they play in such a way that he would have no chance.
One of those guys that Phil Laak will tell you is Tom Dwan, who's been abusing him for years. Claims he never beat a pot off of him. Phil to Tom, that is.
I could see that. Tom Dwan is here for the Premier League. I have never seen him play as well as he did these last 2 weeks. It was scary, I
All the
thought.
turns I
Bet
had.
5,100.
Stream and so many.
That's pretty obscene.
10 of diamonds.
Sam Trickett
10 diamonds, then.
in
Any
profit? I mean, 4,000. And that's his high water mark by a good 10 meters. He's got to be feeling good.
Oh yeah, when you're stuck that much in a game and you work for hours and hours and get it back, you're feeling great.
Nobody ever gets even after 20. Well, that's not true.
I don't think I
People
have
do,
either. I
just
didn't even think
not
about
as many as don't. That's for sure.
I never think about stuff like that.
200.
Raise 200. Re-raise 700.
Moseley's gotten the jacks a few times. And Trickett's in the middle as well.
In every hand, aren't we?
3 ways.
Just like free bet and the guy.
Gambling.
Yeah.
every pot's 3 bet.
It's true. Not really crazy about Phil Laak's hand here, but he is on the button.
Bet 2,000.
And how does Trickett want to play this? I think he just calls.
They've been playing pretty conservatively in these spots, 3-handed. Wouldn't mind seeing a raise here.
Raise 5,700. Fold.
And Andy just snap folds. He does that with like second pair in these spots. He doesn't even consider calling with 2 jacks. He's been doing that all game long. With marginal hands, he just lets it go to 1 raise.
Yep.
You have to like.
I never even think about that.
It's not bad.
200.
Oh, well, it is an optional 200 then on the button.
This is a Mississippi straddle in this case. Get to act last. 3 flop with an option.
Check. Bet 500. Raise 2-5.
Trickett makes a very aggressive raise with bottom pair. Moseley's not going to go anywhere.
No, he can play this as aggressively as he wants, in a sense, or...
Yeah, Moseley's got a very good hand here with the open end straight shot to the nuts.
Check.
Again, I'd be shocked if Andy
Check.
gave it up at this point. But it goes check, check. Now Sam's going to try to bluff. Or rather, Andy's going to try to bluff it here. And I could see Sam calling it.
Bet 5,000.
Moseley bet 5,000.
He bet spot here. He's representing a 6, probably like betting top pair and then calling the raise. But I think Trickett's going to pick him off here. All the draws missed.
He's really having a hard stare on it. I mean, when would it be a 6? He made a tough laydown against Phil Laak. He made some great laydowns. Doesn't seem to like this one as much. How often would Moseley lead on the river with this hand rather than bluff? You know, because for him to lead with this, he must feel like that Trickett's got. Must feel like Trickett had a.
Well, he's calling his hand right here. He says you've got ace 4 or 7-8, basically calling out the 2 hands you can beat. He's also probably thinking it's less likely that ace 4 bluffs the river here like this.
He's got him. He's
No.
calling.
Yeah, once he calls out the hand.
Ace 4 and 7.
But he must. I mean, he must be thinking. You know, for you to lead out here, you must imagine that I have a hand I've been betting that I'm going to check behind.
Yeah, but I mean, his hand, whether he has 2 8s here or the ace 3, is pretty much the same thing at this point. He's trying to represent a 6. And a 6 can beat 2 aces just like it could beat ace 3.
He's calling.
Yeah, I think so too.
His instincts are just so good.
Just go for a check raise with a 6.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Because if he doesn't think that Sam has anything, that if Sam was on a draw himself, why wouldn't he try and let him bluff at it? That's what he's talking himself into. Why wouldn't you go for a check raise?
Good call.
Oh, he makes the good call. He called it right too. Just gotta make him feel good.
7-8.
There's no doubting that Sam Trickett is the story of this game. For once, he has eclipsed Phil Laak. While Laak's tale has been one of continual success, Trickett's is a roller coaster ride. Down and seemingly out of this game, he took time out, came back refreshed, and tackled the mountain of debt. And as the game heads towards the 40-hour mark, he has finally turned his debt into a very healthy profit. Over 14K to the good. While it may not be in the league of Phil Laak's profit margin, which is heading towards the 170K mark, it is a story that shows just what is possible in the Party Poker Big Game 6.